I have a crazy long story. So the short fun version is my mom won an Apple computer. We're starting in 1986. And to learn how to use a computer then I had to program it. But in my 20s, I thought, I don't want to be a computer nerd stuck in a room by myself all day. I want to be cool. I learned how to design websites in the 90s and then social media in the 2000s. And I wrote a book for LinkedIn that was published by LinkedIn for salespeople. And I started building online courses in the twins and got to do that for big names like HubSpot. And I just thought I might as well do it for 10 companies and try and make 10 times the amount of money. So I opened my own agency and so far so good.
Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkify podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to the Market Movers podcast. Today's guest is Mike Montague, founder of Avenue 9, a human-first AI marketing agency and the voice behind the Playful Humans podcast and book. It's a real pleasure to have you. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Hey, so good to be here. Happy to talk about it, and I appreciate the opportunity to get in front of your audience. So thanks for having me.
Mike, it's great to have you on. To start, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us about how you got into the AI marketing side of things.
I have a crazy long story, so I'll give you the short version. I'm getting old, but the short fun version is my mom won an Apple computer in 1986. That's the short version. We're starting in 1986. And to learn how to use a computer then I had to program it. There weren't programs or games or anything. It didn't even connect to the internet. I had to buy a modem and stuff. But in my 20s, I thought, I don't want to be a computer nerd stuck in a room by myself all day. I want to be cool. I want to be on the radio. So I was Romeo on the top 40 radio station here in Kansas City when social media blew up in the 2000s. And so I kind of, I learned how to design websites in the 90s and then social media in the 2000s. And I wrote a book for LinkedIn that was published by LinkedIn for salespeople. And that got me kind of a national platform and stuff. And I started building online courses in the twins and got to do that for big names like HubSpot and Cornerstone On Demand. And anybody that knows online learning, Sandler Training would recognize those names. And then when AI popped up here a couple of years ago, I was big in the podcasting space and using it for all of these online courses and stuff. And I just thought, I'm doing my job in like a tenth of the time that I was doing it 2 years ago. I might as well do it for 10 companies and try and make 10 times the amount of money. So I opened my own agency about 6 months ago, trying to do that. And so far, so good. But kind of following the thread of audience engagement, sales and marketing and technology has kind of been my whole adult life and career.
Nice. So you got into AI and then you realized that you could output X by utilizing AI. And that's when you then thought, I can do this for other companies. Is that right?
Yeah, just myself. So I created so much content, again, for my day job and then for my side hustle with Playful Humans and stuff. Is I was doing 2 regular podcasts that were weekly. And I had already started experiencing with the resources from Sandler and the How to Succeed podcast. We were outsourcing overseas people to write the titles and descriptions and tag all the keywords and index everything and, create guest clips and all of that stuff. So I was lucky to have the resources to invest in some early AI tools to do that for me. So we're recording here on Riverside, but I've used Descript and there's one called Video and QSO and all types of cool tools to help with the podcasting. And it really just sped it up so fast. But at the same time, I was writing blogs every week and creating webinars and online courses. At one point, Grammarly had me down at writing over 10,000 words a week of content. So you could imagine that was my job as the human kind of ghostwriter and content creator.
That's
for
awesome.
about 9 years. And then I was like, well, the blogs that used to take me a day to write, I'm writing in like 15 minutes and I was looking for other stuff to do. And so, for a while it made sense to kind of amplify that and create more. But then I quickly decided I either need to do this for other people or I need to get really specific about what I want to create in the content that's actually going to impact people, because otherwise I'm just going to run out of ideas and start creating AI slop trying to post a 1,000 blogs a day or something.
Yeah, so you said you were using it to increase your output, and I think that's a good spot to talk about sort of the current landscape. For us, that's what we're finding. Like the things that we were doing, we're speeding up, we're making them easier, we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting with AI, but it's not completely automated. This sort of narrative now is like this one click, it's going to run your entire sales team, and it's been really overhyped. What are those things that you decided like this is where I can use AI to speed up the process or automate?
Yeah, I kind of have a 3-step framework that I've worked out to make the most of this and make really good content rather than just, like you said, one click automate stuff. I think we're getting closer to that. I don't know if we'll ever really get there, because for me, this 3-step process is, number one, I have to create the context and the prompt and know what I'm building and give it credible information to work with. So what I do at my company is I'll interview a company founder, a top salesperson, a best client of somebody. And once we have that interview, I can then remix that with AI and create all of the other stuff. So I can write a case study, social posts, create short clips for LinkedIn or TikTok or any of that other type of content I need to create. But I have to get that good core interview and message first. The second part of that is just sales and marketing expertise. So you have to know what to create in what order and how to link them together in the top, middle, and bottom of the funnel to actually get any leads out of it. I mean, you can post, and people have, get millions of views on TikTok with short videos of you dancing, but people are going to scroll right past it and you'll never get a lead from it. Nobody's ever going to call you. I have clients that have had up to like 14 million views on a YouTube video. And shockingly, they say, we got some new followers out of it, but nobody called. Nobody picks up the phone because you have a viral video and says, I need you to, work on my cybersecurity or something. And the third part of this is the reviews at the end. So, if you're creating quality content, if you're putting it together in a strategic marketing plan, you still have to review the output at this point of AI. So I've gotten pretty good with my custom GPTs and processes that I can get it to output stuff that's pretty close, but I still need to go through and take out the word delve and the rhetorical questions and the M dashes and
that's a game changer. Game changer.
The words that it misheard. Yeah. In an era of game changing thought leadership and all of that stuff that just, it'll get in bad habits or it'll get lazy and stuff. So I want to review when I go to post, and I'm sure for your podcast, you guys can add in some tips here too, but I want to link to people, or I want to tag people in posts, or I want to make sure that they look good. And maybe that clip that they said about a challenge they had or something doesn't quite make them look best. And so I'm really picky about using AI to create a lot of options for me, but then I'll pick the best title of the episode, or I'll pick the best clip out of the 12 that it suggested and use that, or I'll rewrite the social media post to be a little bit more effective or engaging as it goes through. And I think those are kind of the 3 key roles of humans in the process of using AI, at least for marketing and sales these days.
I think that's brilliant, because that 3-step process as well is all encompassing of a system that will be ultimate quality. Because we all see the hype videos, these 50 node N8N agents that will run your entire business for you and start other businesses at the same time as running your current business. None of us really think is, I mean, maybe we'll get to that point, but it's overhyped. What you put in at the beginning, that first stage, is something that we are really starting to enjoy and appreciate. So obviously we produce a podcast, the shorts, the context that you can derive from the transcripts. If you've had a conversation that's very strategy based, you can pull that. And there's so much you can then do with it. I think phase 2 is where it was a real genius that you said, is knowing what elements of that stuff that you pull from AI, and therefore having lots of options. What will resonate and drive traffic, drive sales is brilliant. Could you expand a bit more on that phase 2?
Yeah, I was hoping you would ask that question, because I think there is some magic there and you can brainstorm with it. So in phase 2, I'm also kind of fighting and arguing with the AI or helping it suggest other things and say, hey, I did this podcast with the guys on the Market Movers podcast. What are some creative ways that I could leverage this for my own, marketing with Avenue 9, and get some suggestions in that? But I still need to critically think about what pieces of content content to make. And I think there's a few ways that I look at it. Number one is with AI, I can take a lot of material and boil it down to simple, effective stuff. So when we're doing a 30, 45-minute interview here, I can say, hey, AI, look at this and find just the few magic moments, the stuff where I said something really smart and cut out the ums and ahs, but also the things where I said things that were dumb and not really applicable, and just bring it down to these magic moments. And I think AI is really good at distilling stuff. The other thing that we can't do as humans is massive amounts of data in other things. So when I've been a guest on 12 other podcasts, now tie all 12 podcasts together and give me the top insights and takeaways and cool things to think about, like the strategy, or maybe roll up to a bigger piece of content, like a book or a blog or some sort of white paper, case study, LinkedIn carousel, something that's a little weightier from larger stuff, I found is really good too. So I think about taking a really long piece of content, like a book or an interview, and making it into small stuff. I also think about taking all of these small pieces. Like I've done all these blog posts, all these emails, all these social media posts. Tell me what was the most interesting or most engaging out of all of those pieces, and then roll that up into something larger that I could deliver in a webinar or a course or something like that.
How do you package that? Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, how do you package that last part up? I think it's really easy to take a long piece of content, put it in, prompt, and get like some distilled insights. It's harder to take, here's like a bunch of fragmented data and then get it to compile. Is that like you're doing like a Claude project or a ChatGPT project, or are you just loading that all into the message? Like how do you actually pull that part off?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I tend to use ChatGPT or NotebookLM, because Notebook will give you up to 50 sources, and it's a little bit better about scraping those sources than the other ones. So if I just, give it a link to a YouTube video of all the podcasts that I've done this quarter, or all the guest appearances I've had, or I'll load up, previous books that I've written and podcasts, or links to blogs that I've written. And now all of a sudden I have this nice big knowledge base. Get it to distill the information. Give me the highlights, the study guides, the common questions, common sources, books that I've shouted out, or people that I've shouted out across things, and help it organize the content. And then I'll take that outline into something like ChatGPT or Claude and say, hey, help me flush this out. Now that we have these basic ideas and concepts distilled from the large data, help me rewrite this into something that's more cohesive. So I think the best writers are Claude and ChatGPT, but the best researchers are probably more Perplexity and Gemini or Notebook. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's funny, isn't it, how we started to like have our AI friends that we know are better at which certain jobs. And it's like, oh, I'm definitely not going to use ChatGPT for this, but I'm going to, I love LM. The notebook, I think, is really good. Okay, so I'm interested in when you take a client on and you do this for a client, how do you define a strategy for this content, and how do you know what's going to drive them ROI from that strategy? And then how are you using AI to execute the overarching strategy, if at all?
Great question. Yeah, I'm using a lot of AI tools along the way. And sometimes I'll help with my ChatGPT and custom GPTs help me make marketing plans, or based on previous ones that I've done, help me restructure and create something here just to clarify my thinking. But in short, it's kind of marketing strategy stuff of who's their audience, who are they trying to reach, what's most relevant to them, what's the change they're trying to make, or what their key unique value propositions and stuff, and what makes them different in their market. And then thinking creatively about how to tie those things together. So podcasting is a really easy one. We both do it, so I'll keep using it. But if you can create a podcast where you interview your ideal clients, it's basically a 30-minute discovery interview. You can ask them all the questions about how they use their product, the problems they're experiencing in their world, what the best solutions are, why they like solutions in your type of market or industry. And all of a sudden you get your prospects saying nice things like, oh, you should really use AI in your marketing because it saves me a ton of time or money, or it gets a better ROI. And once I have them doing that, it's really easy to make friends. And with a weekly podcast, at the end of the year, you got 52 people that you've talked to that you wouldn't have reached already. And I think some of the other great things are, I'm sure you guys have experienced this, but you can reach out to almost anybody.
Yeah.
So I can get really big name guests and swing much higher than if I had tried to cold call 52 people that I
100%,
wanted to reach. So that's just one strategy. But other times businesses do channel sales, right? And they're selling through affiliates or partners or franchisees. And so their target and their key people that they want to stay engaged with are actually their members and a membership organization, or their franchisees that have 200 local offices. Well, in that case, the interview that I want to do weekly is with their employees or their resellers and their channel partners. And so we can feature a product and a cadence. And really, it's about using this content to connect to the audience, stay top of mind with them, brand what you're doing, feature a different product every week, or feature a different case study or employee or use case every single week. And as you build that collection over the course of the year, it becomes extremely valuable. So it's kind of taking that podcasting framework. And what I think people miss is with AI, it's become so much cheaper that you can now target that internally. I don't care if anybody other than these 200 local franchisee owners ever listen to this podcast, but I want to make a regular cadence of staying in front of them and engaging them, making sure they feel like they're a part of the community and building trust over time, and then building these assets over time. Like I said, then at the end of the year, you have stuff for a book, you have stuff for a course, you have stuff for onboarding new employees. All of us, we've done that hard work a little bit at a time, 30 minutes, an hour at a time every week. And then we've used AI to amplify that we can build out anything else from this knowledge base we need to build.
I think there's a couple of really interesting things you said there. One is the building the knowledge base. I think that's like a key thing, building that knowledge base, because then you can always reference it. And that's something we're working on now. But I think a lot of people kind of skip that. And then they wonder why the content they're not creating doesn't sound like their voice. They're always like reliant on that prompt to get what they're trying to do instead of pulling from a knowledge base. So I think that's really interesting. But I'm curious, if the content you're creating, what is the process like? You have this repeatable process for, I'm going to create a social post from this YouTube video. Is that a ChatGPT project? Or do you just have a prompt you copy and paste in? Because it's a repeatable process. So is that something you're able to speed up a bit?
Yeah, so we can talk about the tools there. Most of the time, it starts with an interview. I found that even people that aren't performers can talk in a one-on-one. So maybe I'm just recording a Zoom call with a founder or somebody that's, shy, and it could be my personality here. But if I ask them a bunch of questions and I go deep and I'm looking for those pieces of gold in there, I'm doing my own prospecting, looking for something important that they say or something relevant, or I'm asking the right questions, I'll get the right information from them. Then it's so easy in any AI tool to get the transcript. So something like Zoom already provides the transcript for you, or even an AI summary of the most important things that you said in this call. So it could be an internal team meeting. It could be an interview on Zoom with one of your prospects, clients, anybody. I'm just looking for a way for us to capture that information. Like you said, capture the voice, capture the information that we need, and then taking that transcript usually over to something like ChatGPT. And for all of my clients, I create a custom GPT. So it's just for them. And again, you can do a project internally or whatever you want to do that makes sense. But creating this ABC client GPT, and I'm uploading these transcripts. I'm doing all the work in there. They just opened up that knowledge base to be more historical, which is going to be even more powerful now. But important documents, I've loaded up their brand guidelines, their tone of voice, their best sales presentation, their best webinar transcripts. And I've created this knowledge base for them, like you said, from all of those things. Then from there, it depends on what we're doing, but I have basic prompts that I've saved and kind of prompt frameworks that'll say, I want you to write a LinkedIn post for Nick in Nick's voice to this target audience based on the information that he shared in this podcast, and highlight the top takeaways for this week, and give me, 3 1-minute shorts, and give me maybe 2 ideas that are 3 to 5 minutes long that we could turn into blog posts. And I'm getting those regular prompts and then working down each piece of the detail. So who do I need to tag? I can ask ChatGPT to write a comma separated keyword list to tag in WordPress, or hashtags that I could use, or whatever information from there makes sense. But it's usually taking that bigger piece and then slowly breaking it into chunks. Write a blog post. From the blog post, write 5 social media posts. From the social media post, write this, or create a a white paper, and then I need you to write me the landing page copy for that white paper. And then I need you to write the social media post to promote the landing page. And so again, we can talk more about it, but I think top, middle, and bottom of the funnel. And I usually start at the bottom. What's the piece that's going to get me an email address, get me a sales appointment, be the hardest call to action? And then what would I need to make in order to get somebody to that? And then what would I need to post on social or in an email to get people to go to the middle piece?
Okay, I think I have been doing this almost right, but from after listening to you now, I haven't. Right? So my custom GPTs, I don't think I'm doing in enough detail, and I'm almost using them more to instruct the AI for repeatable output format, which is like a format, let's say, that I like for like a LinkedIn post. Let's say Mike's podcast's ready. I've got a short video and I want the copy for the LinkedIn post. So I like it to be quite short and sweet, like a small funny line. So my custom GPT, I've got one for like a short, which will just extract the highlights, find a funny element, give me like 3 short sentences. I'll hate the copy, the output, but it'll basically be, good enough for then me to
Find
edit.
the clip.
Yeah.
Right.
Put the clip, but for then to me like humanly edit those 3 sentences. I've got the key bits. Oh yeah, I remember Mike said that in the episode. Okay, that's a terrible sentence. I can just reword it. So it's like, I'm not doing it right. So my question is, first of all, could you just go into a bit more detail on that custom GPT knowledge base? How much stuff should be going in there? Secondly, it was interesting that, are you then reprompting the custom GPT depending on the output that you want? So would you have a single, let's say, Chris, this is how Chris thinks GPT. And if I wanted a short or a blog post or something, would you then reprompt the custom GPT and the knowledge base to then give you your desired output? And finally, is that superior or less superior than like a RAG model in order to interact with data?
Yeah, I love the question. And I think you nailed it, because so many people listening to this are going to be in the same boat you are. The number one challenge that I see people is they're trying to get too far too fast. And what I found, even my brother did this. My brother had the AI hallucinate because he uploaded all of his research for a book he was writing and was like, hey, help me write the book. And it was like, yeah, I'll get on it. And he's like, well, great, when? And there's like, oh, working on it, I'll deliver it for. And he fought for like 2 weeks with GPT that never wrote the book. It was hysterical. But I think the problem is it's too big. So yeah, what I load up into the GPT are the things that we talked about. Like, what is the brand tone of voice? What are some writing examples? How does Chris think? Who's your target audience? What are some do's and don'ts that you generally like as far as tone of voice, length? And so I put in even kind of some frameworks and examples of stuff that for a LinkedIn post, I want to start with a killer hook. The first 3 lines need to be something that's going to engage and get the audience. Then you can give the detailed information, and at the end with some sort of call to action. And I'm putting those types of instructions in there, but I'm not teaching it what to do or how to do it per se. It's more about, I think about like what you would tell a marketing assistant that you just hired, right? And say, hey, for the Marketing Movers podcast, we want it to be hard hitting, really pithy, really short, engaging posts, no fluff, no extra buzzwords, just hard hitting, super impactful content. Or I want this to be really casual. I want it to be calm. We can take our time. I'm not in a rush. I'm trying to build relationships. I don't even want call to actions in this brand voice at all, because we're doing a long-term sale. So once I train that up and I teach it about my company, about my target audience and the tone of voice, then I'll upload the transcript to the video in a specific prompt myself and say, based on this transcript, and I'll do it one piece at a time. So I might be costing myself time, but I found better if I say, give me 10 title suggestions for this podcast episode based on the transcript. And then I'll say, okay, great, let's pick number 1. Or I always give it feedback too, which I think a lot of people miss, which is, hey, I liked your suggestions for titles, but this word was a little off. So here's what I'm going to pick. This is now the title of the episode. Write a 2-paragraph description for this episode. And then after I read that, I'll edit it and rewrite it and say, here's what I'm using for the 2-paragraph description. Update your knowledge base based on my output so that next time I want to do it. And then
it'll
each
do
episode, I'm training the GPT and say, hey, here's the blog post that I rewrote based on what I did. Update your knowledge and your format and style notes to make it more like this next time.
And it does that.
Yeah.
It does do that. Okay.
So
okay.
it doesn't always work. I do find that sometimes I have to remind it, it'll get lazy or a little stubborn on some stuff that it likes. But I found that over time, then I'm getting better results, and it knows what I like in a title. It knows what I like in a description. And each prompt I'm doing a little bit at a time. And it's gotten to the point now where I have those where I just copy and paste. So I save them in Evernote and I just copy here's the title prompt, paste it in, hit enter. Okay, great. I chose title number 3 out of your list of 10, write the 2-paragraph description, and I paste in that prompt. And just, I think the back and forth is the key part to that.
I find sometimes you have to start over, because there's sometimes you can say, I don't like this part, make it more like this, and it'll get it. And sometimes it gets worse and worse, everything you ask it. And if you just start over, you might come up with something much better. So
Sounds like having a human employee.
It really is.
It's a
That's
lot
the
like
way I
that.
think about it, is like I have to train this new marketing assistant who knows nothing about my company, nothing about sales and marketing expertise. And so I have to teach it the output that I want. And you're right, Nick, especially with images. That's the thing I haven't been able to crack with prompts is they just came out with this huge update that we were supposed to be, we're going to fix text, and all the text is always messed up. And then when I ask it to fix it, it makes it worse and eliminates the stuff that I liked about the image. And so half the time I'll give up and just go find a stock image.
Yeah, I'm with you. But I'm not very good with images, period. So it kind of makes sense that I'm not good with AI images either. But
yeah, that's true.
Okay, so when it comes to prompts, there was one point where people were saying like prompt engineering is going to be a career. It's going to be really important. There were people who said all kinds of things like, you need to tell AI that, it has 100 years of copywriting experience. And then other people started to say like, that doesn't make any difference. It doesn't have 100 years of copywriting experience just because you said that. And there's a lot of thought now that, like the models are getting a lot better at interpreting what you mean. And so having a very detailed prompt is a little less important. What do you think about that? How much information needs to go into the prompt to get a good output?
It's a great question. And I don't know that I'm an expert in this in any means, but I'll just tell you my experience is I think shorter prompts and more iterations get better outputs than longer prompts, because you'll spend 30 minutes writing the prompt and you could have done 5 other versions in short prompts by the time you get there. So there are prompts that I like, and I do think adding context helps a lot. And I'll give you one of my favorite prompts that I stole from somebody I wish I had known who said it first. But one of my favorite prompts is, ask me any questions you need to know to be 95% sure you're going to give me the output that I want. And so then ChatGPT will look at my prompt and say, what? I need to know who the target audience is. I need to know how many words you want this thing to be, or I need some additional context about you and your background before I write it. And then the next version seems to be better. So I do think there are some key things that you can do. Getting too fancy with the prompts, I feel like makes it overcomplicated if you miss one or it misunderstands, especially negative words. I've also found that to be true. If you say, do not use M dashes, it sees M dashes in the prompt and it's like a Google search. It's going to look and be like, oh, well, should put in M dashes. And you're like, no, I said no M dashes. And then it just puts more M dashes because you reinforce that as something that's important to you. So I've tried to use words like avoid M dashes rather than like the negative no or not in it. Or I'll just say something like, I prefer compound sentences or complete sentences instead of fragments and rhetorical questions. Then sometimes that will work a little bit better. Other times, like I said to Chris, I'll just correct it and then feed it the way I like it and say, make it like this next time. And that works a lot better for me, because now I'm showing it what I want rather than trying to perfect this one perfect prompt that's going to get the right output every time.
Yeah. And I think that is reflective of your business ethos anyway, which is human first. I think that's so correct, so true too. I mean, we've probably all been guilty of this, haven't we? I have spent considerable time trying to write a prompt large enough that when I just press enter, I get like exactly what I want done, and it doesn't do it. So I'll rewrite the prompt. Whereas I could have just had that human to AI interaction, because it is really good at iterating on instructions, isn't it? It's really good at that. Gives you a title, it's not quite right. Can you give me 2 more examples where it's more like this or less like that? And within just a couple of interactions, you'll be like, basically exactly what you wanted. And that is what you say is having that human interaction, as opposed to these crazy NAN automations that we're seeing where it's going to develop an entire website with your brand voice and all the correct copy and deploy it and it's live? Like, what are the chances?
Yeah, I don't think that's very likely. I think I did go with the human first because that's a kind of AI concept, but it's also human last and human in the middle.
Yeah.
Human throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, think about that again. I think if you treat it like a marketing assistant, if you had a 22-year-old, a new marketing assistant in your company, you couldn't say, here's 1,000 instructions that I want you to follow. Go follow them all and don't make any mistakes. It's just too many things to process at once. So I do think sometimes we confuse treating AI like humans and they're not. They think like robots. So more specific instructions can be helpful. Other times we're just trying to do too much. It doesn't have intelligence. It doesn't have emotional resonance. It's getting better at making things that are funny or heartfelt or things. And sometimes it'll surprise the hell out of you. I made the mistake of having it roast me today. I saw somebody else's prompt and I said, based on everything you know about me, will you share the most embarrassing things you know in a roast style format and make it funny? And it was brutal. I was like, okay, that was too hard. Put me back together.
Never mind, delete anything.
I did that with my book, by the way. I uploaded the final copy of Playful Humans, and I said, act like a book critic. And if somebody was going to complain about the books, what are the things they're most likely to say? And then it wrote it, and I waited 5 minutes. I was like, wait, do I really want to read this? Is this going to destroy me after I spent a year writing this book? And then I read it, and you know what? It wasn't bad. It was fair. It was like, if you don't like this book, it's probably not for you. It's because you don't believe in these philosophies and things, right? And so I think it did prepare me for the feedback that I received from other people because it was without judgment and it was giving me honest feedback. And then I can also ask the opposite question and say, if you love this book, why would you love it?
Yeah. Praise the hell out of me now.
Yeah. And I think those kind of back and forth things are really powerful. But in general, I found more conversations, more interactions, more refining, and eventually AI will get there where it reads your mind and stuff. But we're not there yet.
I think now, like, pulling through everything you're talking about, you can reference something that you prompted weeks ago, and it can pull from that. I think that's a huge step forward, and I can definitely see where we're going to get to this point where it knows so much about you that it can easily start to write content the way you do, or put out content the way you think. So I think we're moving in that direction for sure.
I'm excited about that too. Yeah, I think the more learning and the more context we give it, the better it's going to be. And some people think that's a privacy invasion. I'm one of the persons that are out there just saying, "Look, something in my house is recording me at this point."
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It doesn't really matter which. I'd rather have it at least be a tool that's trying to help me.
Yeah, make some money along the way.
Yeah.
I'm boring enough. I don't care if someone's reading that. I'm not,
exactly.
plotting anything big in there. Okay, so let's talk about other AI tools. We've talked a lot about ChatGPT, LLMs. What other AI tools are in your workflow, in your tech stack?
Oh, man. I think the Descript and the video editing tools are great. That's probably another one that a lot of people, if you haven't tried them, don't snooze on it. We're recording in Riverside right now. It does all the same things that you can just select in the transcripts, the parts that you want to export a clip, or you can delete an or an ah. And the tools are getting sick where you can correct what you said. And some of them will even correct your voice and rewrite the script and learn your voice and stuff now, or make you speak a different language. And I'm not a big fan of all the AI avatars because I'm a fan of the human first and connection and authenticity in what we're making. But there are use cases where if I need to deliver the language, my previous job, we operated in 27 countries and 17 different languages. So if I'm recording a podcast in English, up until a year ago, there was no way that I could do that same show in 17 different languages. Now I can with these AI tools. So a lot of the translation and transcription stuff I think is really cool for making your stuff more accessible to other people. There's also some really cool AI tools. Formless is one that I recommend everybody try, where you can create basically like your HubSpot form to collect an email or any type of form data that you want to do. This is great for employee surveys and feedback, and it'll do it in a conversational chatbot way.
Oh,
And you can
okay.
give it personality, whether it's going to be, sassy, friendly, funny, or direct on the questions, but it feels a lot more natural. I think that it's so much better than other stuff where we all hate filling out forms and intake forms. I can't wait till I can just, have a conversation and do that rather than all the prompts and the forms and the typing. And I'm getting old. I get tired with a lot of that stuff. And so when you're looking for customer service help, you don't want to talk to an AI robot. You want to talk to a human when you're trying to solve a complex problem. But there's so much of our lives that can be automated or filled in or auto completed with something that's information. I think we should really spend some time thinking about those tools because that helps me a lot.
Are there any tools that you've fallen in love with AI wise that's maybe not directly related to your business, but I mean, I'm sure you're as sort of fascinated and intrigued with all this latest stuff coming out, these no code natural language dev tools that are everywhere. Is anything else that's got you excited?
Have you guys used Gamma yet?
Yeah, the presentation slide tool.
Yeah. That one is probably my favorite AI tool because you can also make social graphics or LinkedIn carousels or PDF documents or even landing pages or sales presentations and proposals in Gamma. And it's really cool. For me, that's one of the tools that does what you would hope that all these AI tools would do. Okay. From a one-line prompt, it'll build a whole presentation. And I haven't had the guts to do it yet, but I want to do these in my presentations. I do a lot of public speaking and consulting, and I want to go up on stage and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I lost the airline, lost my luggage, I lost my laptop with the presentation. Let me just recreate it here real quick and build the whole presentation in like 30 seconds and then present it live on stage from people. I think it would blow them away.
Take the risk, just have the backup ready on you in case
amazing.
it doesn't work.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really almost that good. It generates all the images, formats to your theme and template, and writes all the bullet points. And you can use AI to condense it, to expand it, to change the layout of the slide. And just in a couple of clicks, like turn something into an infographic. It's really cool. And you can also upload other presentations. So what I love about what they did is you can do a one-line prompt, make me a presentation about this. You can upload your presentation and say, make it better, put it in this template, or make it shorter or longer. Or you can work with ChatGPT on the outline, then paste that outline into Gamma and have it make the presentation from that and kind of preserve the text that you worked really hard on. And for me, that's another one. I don't know how much you've done it in your careers, but I would spend hours looking for stock photos and tweaking PowerPoint. And PowerPoint's always dumb, especially when you're editing something like a few together and you didn't make it in the same template, or somebody else made the PowerPoint and they want to make it pretty. And then all of a sudden you're jacking with font sizes and styles and everything. It just takes hours. So Gamma probably saves me the most amount of time besides ChatGPT and Descript in my week.
That's awesome. I think Chris, you use that one quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I've been trying with it. I didn't know it could do all that other stuff, to be honest with you. And I accidentally paid for a year as opposed to a month. So I've got plenty of time to dive back into it.
Some of them are so cheap that it's well worth it. So yeah. I would say definitely jump in there. What were you making with it?
I needed to do a presentation for a conference talk, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, so I did take like an outline of the first 3 slides, and I was hoping it would. I couldn't figure out the editing on like the slides that it did if I wanted to tweak it slightly, and then I sort of just gave up and went to Canva to finish it. But I've still got it, so I didn't know it could do infographics and all that stuff. And maybe I need to read the tutorial as well for the slides. Yeah,
take the time to learn it. There are some hidden buttons, and I was actually working with their product team this week.
Okay.
To give them some suggestions. But I think once you find out where the tools are and how to copy and paste or duplicate things and clone them, it's so much better. And it's a little bit of a learning curve, but not as bad as Canva.
Yeah.
I've stopped using Canva completely. And I know they're working with ChatGPT and got a lot of AI stuff that they're adding. Like you mentioned earlier, Nick, we may have to go back and forth between tools or have all these people on our teams. And the good news is most of them are cheap. It's like, $10-20 a month. I can have a couple of those and still be worth the time save that I have. But
can you do
it's definitely worth learning.
Can you replace Canva with Gamma?
I have. Yeah.
You've replaced. Okay, I need to get back into it then.
Well, I think this is the big challenge for all of these tools. You have so many tools that they're like, you can easily do this and create all these things easily, but it's still kind of a steep learning curve to actually figure out how to build this stuff. So that's what they have to get past. For us, we have to figure out this tool is going to make a difference in my life. This one's not. Like, it's a lot to test and to figure out what you need to put into your workflow.
Yeah, I think it's the risk versus reward. So when I talk to my clients about this, I think if it's $10 a month, or $20 a month for ChatGPT Pro, pay for it. It's well worth it. The context and the custom GPTs will save you way more than $20 a month. Same thing with Gamma. You're going to get a ton out of it. What I would avoid is building your own tools, because this stuff is changing so fast that just when you think there's this cool new startup and, oh, they're doing amazing things with images, next week ChatGPT cloned it and released it for free and you're out of business. So I think like SaaS startups and stuff is a rough business. I have some clients there and they're doing cool things that hopefully they get acquired or rolled up into other things in a way that's worth it. But that's what I would avoid, is wasting, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to build something, because somebody is going to build it right away. But I think all these low risk investments, try them. The time spent learning is time well spent too for me. I get in this thing where I'm moving too fast sometimes and I get like a panic attack because I can create more content than I can read myself in a day, and I'll get moving too fast or I'll get frustrated. HubSpot is one that I use a lot that is kind of like that, where I'm like, come on, HubSpot. I'm just trying to send an email and I got to create a custom field in the CRM record, then a landing page, then a form, and then go back and put the form in the landing page and put the field in the form. And then I got to approve this. And then by the time I click send, they're not marked as marketing contacts. And I got to go in and it's just like, why am I spending like an hour trying to learn how to just send one thing? But once you figure it all out, it's worth the time and effort. And I do think they get simpler and easier. We just kind of have to be patient because we don't want that magic wand, and we're not quite there yet. Maybe 3 to 5 years from now, it'll be magic wand time and we'll have a lot more fun.
I think that was a really good point as well about the careful to what you make. It's probably a fine balance between being early enough and fast enough to ship something. Most of these things are just wrappers anyway. They're just something built on top of the AI backend. So if they can get it out and make some cash. But yeah, if you're all in on something, which OpenAI later releases as like complete free to play as part of a $20 a month package, are dangerous. Mike, I think
DeepSeek did the same thing to OpenAI.
Yeah.
It's like they can get replaced too. They can get somebody that clones their stuff and replaces them just as fast. So I think that's fair game, but you do have to be careful about it. Or like you said, hustle and get it out there, make money, or build the audience. Because I think the human connection is really the part that people can't steal. They can steal any future or content that you make, feature or content, but they can't steal your audience and the attention and trust that you've built with them.
I think an interesting thing right now, rather than trying to build a tool that has like a mass market appeal, is to build like micro SaaS tools for your audience. This is a great time. It's never been cheaper to develop these kind of things. Something that can be done with Replit, one of these Bolt.new, something like that, where you would have spent 10 grand with a developer before. That's where I think there's a unique opportunity. Build something that your audience wants. It's not at risk of ChatGPT cloning it because it has no value to them. It's such a small audience that's interested, and you can use it to grow your own audience.
Love that. Again, I think that is the power of AI, is that it's really allowing these niches where you can build something for one person if it's worth it, and you can get paid for it, and you can build it fast in an afternoon with AI tools. Yeah, that's all you need. So there's going to be some really cool opportunities like that with niche tools and niche problems that you're solving, for sure.
Exciting times ahead, I think. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I need to get your book in order to read it. And then I'm going to put it into ChatGPT and then repurpose it and post it out. And where can people find you if they want to connect with you or get in touch?
Yeah, Avenue 9 is my company, the number 9. So avenue9.com. There's the Human First AI Marketing podcast that I put out every week there, where I interview marketing experts and AI experts about how to leverage this to grow your business. I target mostly small to medium sized businesses. I think the large companies have teams of people and they can hire big AI experts. And micro businesses, I think you should get in there and learn from the content and try to figure it out yourself. But I love helping small and medium-sized businesses navigate these waters. And there's a lot of people that have a cool garage door manufacturing company or a roofing company or even a coaching or consulting business, and they're not in the AI or tech space. They need help figuring out their marketing and how to reach people, but also how to leverage AI so you don't get left behind or replaced. And so that's what I love helping people do. So go to avenuenine.com, reach out to me and connect on LinkedIn, or check out the Human First AI Marketing Podcast.
Awesome. Mike, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, fun conversation. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Cheers.